Hello everybody out there, and welcome back to another episode of Anime Weekly. This week's show, it's all audio, and unfortunately Jeremy is not here with us. Unfortunately, I was sick at the beginning of the week. Jeremy's very busy towards the end of this week, so because we couldn't get a chance to get together, I'm pulling this show solo, and I'm still not feeling up to par, so video is going to be off. We're going to be doing this as an audio. This happened once before, and I went audio as well, so I figure we'll continue the trend of when I'm here alone, we'll go audio. Unless I'm feeling better, then maybe we'll go video. Hey, beside the point. Anyway, this week we got a lot of nice shows. This week was a really great week. I feel like this is the week where the bulk of the spring schedule begins. Also to note, in the description below, I will not be putting timestamps this time for the animes because I will not have the timer up like when we record through Skype. So unfortunately, I will have them listed as I discuss them, but I will not be able to have a timestamp for them. But since I'm the only one here, I don't see this show going beyond 30 minutes, even though there's a lot of shows to talk about here. But I gotta admit, guys, for episode 1 this week, we have 4 shows this week that were first episodes. Actually, we missed a show last week. I don't know how it fell under our radar, but we have episode 1 and 2 of that show for this week. We got 3 brand new shows jumping into the mix, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I didn't really not like anything this week. I really enjoyed everything I watched, and yeah. So the list of the animes I will be discussing in this episode. I'm going to start off with Naruto Shippuuden episode 455, since that is the longest running show that we have thus far on Anime Weekly. Then we'll go into some Dragon Ball Super episode 38. This was an interesting episode. Then we've got Assassination Classroom Season 2 episode 14. Oh my god, I did not see this episode coming. That's all I'm going to say for right now, but I truly and honestly did not see this episode coming, and when it happened, I was kind of in shock. And I actually do have to say, I will talk about the manga a bit when we get into Assassination Classroom. All right, we have Endride, episode 2, as well as Boku no Hero Academia, episode number 2. The show we missed last week, but we will discuss episode 1 and 2 for this episode, is Ace Attorney, episode 1 and 2. Phoenix Wright, I don't understand how we missed it. It went literally under the radar. For us, we missed it. So now I will be talking about the first 2 episodes. This next anime is very unique. Kabaneri of Iron Fortress. I hope I said that right. I probably didn't, but I tried my best. Now this one has a surname to it, but it's really just called Cerberus. But it's called Seisen Cerberus. But when I watched the anime, it was just called Cerberus. So I'm going to refer to it as Cerberus. It was episode 1, and then I'm going to conclude the show with 100, episode number 1. Now, unfortunately, with the newer shows, I did not get a chance to memorize the names. Again, in anime, the names are definitely names that are very hard for myself and Jeremy to pronounce at times. Anyway, so I apologize if I just classify when we get to those last 3 animes, the main characters by what they do in the show. Hopefully as time moves on, I will start remembering names a bit. I did write down a few names this time, so I would make sure I had certain shows down, but these new shows I didn't. It's episode 1 for me, so I gotta get used to the characters. Alright, so let's start off with Naruto Shippuuden episode 455. I really liked this episode. The last episode, Itachi had joined the Anbu. And in this episode, the Anbu find out that Itachi's tribe, or clan, not tribe, clan, is going to turn on the Hidden Leaf Village. And it's up to him. He has to make the choice. Do I stand by my clan? Or do I stand by the village? Who do I defend? Do I defend my family? Or do I do the greater good and I defend everyone by stopping my family? And in the end, we all know what his decision was, and the condition was that his brother be spared. His brother lives, and he carries out his mission against his clan. He ends up destroying his entire clan, and he actually enlists the help of a certain ninja, and At the end of it all, though, the Anbu basically say you can't stay here because now everybody's going to be looking for you. You took on this mission, but everybody knows it was you, and there's going to be a bounty on your head, and you can't stay here. So he ends up going. I forgot what the clan's name was. See, this is why Jeremy would have been perfect for here, but he ends up going there, and that's where the episode ends. The next episode, which I'm actually surprised we're still getting more Itachi. I thought this was going to be the end of it, but the good news is it isn't. We're still getting more. So I'm really interested in seeing where the next episode goes. I really am enjoying Itachi's character. He's a very unique and very deep character, and he had some really tough decisions to make. And I love how his family reacted to when he showed up at their doorstep, basically to assassinate them and to kill them, and their reaction to it, and how the father actually said, this is a bit of a spoiler, but the father's like, "I'm proud of you. Never forget that this is what your duty is to the Hidden Leaf Village." And the reason why he had to do this, by the way, is because the clan wanted to kidnap Naruto to take the nine-tailed fox for themselves, because the father also had that ability that Itachi had, and he saw the future. He showed Itachi the future. Itachi didn't believe that was the future, where the clan had the possession and ability to control the nine-tail, and that's why in the end he chose to defend the Hidden Leaf Village instead of standing by his clan. And I thought this was a really great episode. I really enjoyed it. I'm enjoying learning more about Itachi's character. I'm loving the Naruto universe. Ever since we started Anime Weekly, Naruto's been one of the shows where, yeah, I know everybody complains that it's stuck in filler hell. For me, though, especially that I didn't watch the first, Naruto, and I haven't really seen too much of Naruto Shippuuden. For me, it's like really getting into the series from the beginning. And yes, I know if I ever do go back and start from the beginning and then I get into the middle of all this, where we're at episode 455 right now, by the time I get to episode 200 and the fillers start hitting, or whatever episode the fillers start hitting, I'm sure it would hit me hard too. But for a person who's jumping into Naruto with a little bit of knowledge of Naruto, what little bit I know, I'm enjoying it. I'm just taking it in stride at this point when it comes to Naruto. But that's my thoughts on Naruto. Next, we got Dragon Ball Super episode 38, Vegeta versus Hit. And we finally learn Hit's technique. This was really good because I enjoyed this episode because it showed Goku really observing Hit and trying to learn Hit's technique, so when they fight, because, spoiler, Vegeta gets knocked out pretty easily, he gets tricked. Goku wants to learn Hit's technique, not so that he could beat it so much as he can counter it and learn it for himself. And the title for the next episode actually is more intriguing, knowing what Goku does in this episode. But Goku asks Vegeta, do you have any advice? Is there anything you see? He's asking everybody, is there anything you guys see that I don't? And finally, one of the gods from Champa's universe actually mentions, and I probably said that the person's name wrong. Anyway, he mentions that Hit has the ability to jump ahead 0.1 seconds into the future, and that's how basically he's able to counter and hit his target, because he has that second delay. And he's basically like fortune telling, and at the same time being able to counter the move. And Goku's like, is there any way I can learn it? And they're like, takes a while to master it. So when Goku goes into the match finally, he doesn't go straight off Super Saiyan God like Vegeta did and got beat really quickly. He actually straight out tells Hit, he's like, I'm going to learn, I'm going to observe you, I'm going to learn what you're doing, and then I'm going to be able to attack. And Hit's like, you're basically telling me your strategy, isn't that a mistake? And he just laughs it off. See, this is what I love about Goku. He never pulls any punches, and he never, has anything hidden. When it comes to stuff like this, where it's just a contest and it's not a evil Frieza, Cell or whatever, it's not as, he actually takes it as fun. And in this case, he's fighting Hit, and he's learning, he's seeing Hit's, 0.1 second jump. And first, he learns to counter. Then Hit's like, that was just a fluke. It'll never happen again. And then he counters again, and he hits. And it happens again, and he hits. And then finally, Hit is starting to realize, wait a minute. He's getting better. And now he's finally ready to take Goku seriously. And Goku's like, so now you're ready to take me more serious. And that's unfortunately where this episode ends. Excuse me one second while I take a sip. So, yeah, I this episode was classic Goku, and I'm really excited for the next episode even more. Hit is the last person on their side, so if Hit gets taken down, everybody, it's over. Because we find out also, I love this part, that Maka basically was only incentive for Goku and Vegeta. He is not the strongest warrior in their universe at all. And we're starting to see Beerus is getting a bit nervous because only Goku's left. Truly, the last strong fighter is Goku. So, if Goku loses, Maka's gonna lose, and they're screwed. So, I don't know. I'm really excited to see where this goes now, because if Goku loses, either Maka's gonna pull a rabbit out of a hat surprise for everybody, or I don't know. I really Goku has to win. That's what I'm guessing out of this tournament. I'm a little disappointed though. I've got to admit it, with the lack of Gohan. Still, I'm a little bit. I don't know. I'm a little let down. I thought that this series was gonna kind of build Gohan back up, and instead it's not. At least not yet. And but I'm loving it. I'm loving this anime. It's so great to have Dragon Ball back. I'm excited for the next episode, and you guys should definitely be as well. All right, Assassination Classroom Season 2, Episode 14. Holy crap, I did not see this coming. Now, as you guys know, the manga, I read the backstory for Kodo Sensei, and I have to admit, and maybe Jeremy is lucky he's not here this week, I did read the last 3 chapters of Assassination Classroom, so I do know how at least the manga ends. Will they translate it the same way for the anime? Most likely, but still, I couldn't help myself. When I've been reading the manga, I'm only a couple of chapters behind, so I figured I'd finish it, because either way I'm still going to watch the anime because I'm loving it. And wow, the ending, I will say this without spoiling anything for those of you that are just watching the anime. If you go back and listen to my predictions, half of them are true. The other half that were wrong, it's something completely different. And there's actually something that's really, I did not expect at all, that happens at the end of the series that I liked. I liked it a lot. But anyway, in this issue, Kayano, the innocent little girl, the one that did that pudding, that episode where she made that pudding to try to kill Kodo Sensei and it failed, the one that gave Kodo Sensei his name, it was a cornerstone of this entire school. It turns out, we find out, she's an actress. And she was acting this entire school year. This entire time, all she was doing was playing the role of Kayano. And it was just to get close enough to Kodo Sensei and then to kill him. And we also find out that she has tentacles as well. And they had to get rid of those on the other character, whose name Iota. I can't pronounce it. It starts with an I. Itona, because they would have killed him. The problem with Kayano is they're so deep inside of her already that she's already dead, in a way. She's dying, very close to. I don't know. She's close. Let's put it that way. So she ends up surprising everybody. Kodo Sensei is able to stop her for a bit, and we find out she's the sister of, well, her sister was in the facility where Kodo Sensei broke free of. And this is the part that really has me excited. This episode is the one where the students are starting to question Kodo Sensei. They're like, we've had you, we've been with you for a year, we trust you with everything. We need to know your past. What did you do? Did you really murder those people? And I guess after this part of the story with Kayano, we're going to get into the backstory of Kodo Sensei. And I'm excited because he actually says, let's take care of Kayano, and then I will tell all of you together my past, what happened, the truth, and nothing but the truth. So she reaches out to Koro Sensei again, and they prepare to fight again. He goes there, he tries to explain to her that he didn't kill her sister, and you start, and because I've read the past, I know what happens, and I could see him trying to explain. He's like, you got to get rid of those tentacles, they're gonna kill you, yada yada. And Itona already notices that she's pretty much too far gone, and she starts to fight Koro Sensei. They fight. They start to fight each other. Well, Koro Sensei is trying not to fight her, but she's fighting him, and deep in her mind, she's already lost, and she's like, please. And it ends with her saying, and this was a really deep final moment of the episode. She's like, Koro Sensei, please kill me. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I can't wait to see next week's episode just to see the conclusion to this. Hopefully it's the conclusion to this part of the arc and we can start getting into his backstory. But wow, and we get her whole backstory. We find out the whole truth about her in this episode. It was so good and so twisted at the same time. I'm like, no. I got so used to Kayano. I can't believe that she was acting this whole time. And everybody, I think even the students were kind of shocked. And I was like, wow. This writer is doing an excellent job with Assassination Classroom because I am so upset about this. But hopefully things will work out in the end. Endride, episode 2. We find out about Endora. And we find out that it is basically the center of the Earth. That in this world, Earth is the surface world and Endora is underneath the surface world. And they know of Earth, they have books and studies on Earth, and there used to be a connection, but there no longer is a connection. But he wants to go back. He wants to end up going back he wants to go back home, and unfortunately, there's no way back yet. They haven't put the connection, they haven't found that connection yet, and we find out that the king wants to connect to Earth. Obviously, he wants to connect with Earth because probably he wants to rule over Endora and Earth. And we learn a little bit more about the crystals. Basically, this is our learn about the, where the main character is, as well as learn about the stuff that we didn't get to learn about in episode 1. And we also find out it doesn't have to be a crystal. It could be a living thing. It's basically an artifact, to be honest. And the artifact bonds with the person, and then it makes a sword in certain cases, or a staff, or it's a creature. And there's this girl, Lisa, and she joins up with them, and or Alicia. Lisa or Alicia. One or the other. I can't remember because there isn't. Either way, there's another anime with the opposite name. But anyway, she has a little creature that grows into this big dragon when she needs to activate it. I thought this was a great setup. Now they're going to head towards the machine that will basically be a portal back to Earth. And I'm just curious what the main character's father was doing with that crystal, how he got that warp crystal, and if it's true that they might actually be from Endora, or the father at least is from Endora. And I'll make you a bet there's so many hints that Emilio and the main character, Emilio being the prince, are related in some way. I would be shocked if they never followed that. But you could definitely tell that this is only going to be a 12-episode series. It has that feel to it. And after last season, where we lost a lot of shows really quickly at episode 12 and 13, this definitely feels like a show that's going to go about 12, 13 episodes and then probably end up cutting off. I don't know for sure, don't quote me, but I'm just really enjoying Endride as well. Boku no Hero Academia, episode number 2. Hold on a second. I loved this episode because All Might tells Azuko, no, you can't be a hero if you don't have a quirk. And basically his dreams are shattered. He's like, well, realistically, you could be a police officer, you can be anything you want, but a hero, I don't think so. And Izuku's basically shattered at this point. All Might walks away, and then he realizes, holy crap, the liquid monster, or the sludge monster that I captured, I lost it when that kid was on my leg. And then he runs after because now he's basically failed his mission. So he's chasing after it, and we find out that the monster bonds with that fire kid that we saw in the first episode that was a bully to Izuku Ko. And now the liquid being also is able to use the kid's quirk, so he's burning down like this. It looks like Chinatown to me, but All Might gets there, and then somehow by some act of God, Izuku gets there as well, and all of a sudden his body just reacts, and he goes to try. He sees his friend, and he knows that when he was trapped inside this liquid monster, he couldn't breathe, so he runs off to save his friend. No quirk, no nothing. It's basically like committing suicide. And the kid's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm trying to save you. And you just see All Might in the background. He's like, he sees Izuku run in to save his friend. And, he's already spent his 3 hours. But for some reason, he just finds it deep inside. Oh, we also get the backstory for All Might. Why he can only be a superhero for about 3 hours. He got into this fight that wasn't televised. And he lost a huge percentage of his respiratory organs. It never healed. He has like this gigantic scar, and the longer he stays as a superhero, the more chances that he has of it killing him. Later on, we learn a little bit more about All Might, but we'll get into that later. So he All Might's out, and he goes in and he saves the day, and Izuku gets reprimanded. The boy who was the prisoner of the sludge monster is getting all praises about his quirk, his fire quirk and everything, and All Might is getting interviewed. So Izuku kind of sneaks away, and later on the bully kid comes back and he's like, don't think that I owe you anything. I didn't ask you to help me. You're crazy. Stop trying to be a hero, yada yada. I owe you nothing, and he walks away. And then All Might zooms into the picture after the bully kid leaves, and he's like, I have to tell you something. I was wrong. And he says, you taught me something today. You taught me that a hero is not, a hero is somebody who reacts. He doesn't, his body moves before his brain does. And he's like, I was wrong. You can be a hero. And basically he's going to train him. And we don't know this yet. I don't want to spoil anything because I did read the manga and I read pretty deep into No Hero Academia. But the next episode will explain, because Izuku says at the very end of the episode, oh, I forgot to mention, this is the tale of how I become the world's greatest hero. And it's true, and we find out in the next episode how that's going to happen. I guess we'll find out in the next episode how that's going to happen. And I love it. This is one of my top 5 shows. The only reason why it's so low right now on the list is because I put all the episode 1s on top. But I'm loving No Hero Academia. Now that all the shows are in, full bloom, we'll be able to put a more definitive top 5 together. But no, actually, it's pretty high. I think it is my number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, no, it is my number 5. Out of these episodes, for an episode 2, the only thing I would do would be to move it up one more spot. But the reason why I didn't is because Ace Attorney, episode 1 and 2. Takes spot number 4 this week. And that is largely due to the fact that we missed the first episode, so we're going to discuss episode 1 and 2 together. Episode 1 is basically your standard introduction to Phoenix Wright, to, him being a lawyer. He gets his first case, and you see that we know Phoenix Wright. If you've played the video games, you guys know Phoenix outright, that he's the guy that screams objection, and he's rarely lost a case. He takes all the evidence, and he determines, he's just like a super smart attorney, and he's able to decipher through clues. Like, he's basically a sleuth. And his first case, he finds out that the eyewitness was actually the murderer, and then he actually proves it through all the evidence that he's listened to and that he's examined. And I thought the first episode was really fun. It's the second episode that actually leads into To Be Continued. The first episode was a great intro, and it kind of ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, though, because Phoenix Wright says he's going to tell his chief all about why he got into, wanting to be an attorney. But then he actually says, unfortunately, it's a promise I can't keep. And then you find out that the chief is dead, which leads into episode 2 where she gets killed because she has this evidence on somebody. And obviously they want to make sure that evidence is either destroyed or at least the chief is destroyed. And the sister gets blamed for it. And Phoenix Wright, he's trying to figure, he doesn't want to defend the sister because he was there. And even the sister's like, I don't want you to defend me because when you saw me, when you looked at me, you already thought I did it. And the sister had like this big name attorney in case of anything ever happening with her little sister. So Phoenix Wright goes to this attorney and he's like, of course I'll defend her. I love her older sister, and of course I'll do it. And then we find out that this bigwig or this shadow guy who wants the sister to go down for murder or as the person who did it so he could, stay behind the shadows. He tells this guy, look, you're not defending her. And Phoenix Wright finds the cell phone that the sister lost, and he listens in on the conversation between her and the chief and finds out that the sister was not the one that killed the chief. And in the end, the lawyer backs out, and Phoenix Wright goes back to the sister, apologizes, says, I'll do whatever I have to find a way for somebody to support you. And then he turns around and starts walking away ever so slowly, and then he stops and basically says, and she says at the exact same time, he says, I want to defend you. She says, I want you to defend me. And in the end, basically, he's going to defend her. And the person he's doing it against, though, I forgot his name, but he's another big name attorney. And apparently they know each other, I guess from school, because there was a flashback in both episodes of Phoenix Wright as a kid being this other kid's attorney. And it turned out that somehow they turned it around and made it look like Phoenix Wright did it. And I'm enjoying this. This is going to be like my Law and Order meets anime show, and I like this episode. I like the first episode. I'm really excited to see how he's going to end up saving the chief's sister, because obviously he's going to prove she's innocent. We all see the setup for it, but it's going to be interesting to see how he does it. So let's move on to Kabaneri of Iron Fortress Episode 1. This, and I kind of made this analogy, it is but it isn't. This is Walking Dead meets anime. The world is engulfed by Kaban, which are basically like zombies. If you get bit by them, you turn into one of them, except it doesn't take days, it literally takes moments. And we're on this big train in the beginning of the episode, and it's riding towards this town. You've got this engineer kid on board working on this. They get attacked by the Kaban. I guess that's what they call them, or Kaban, or however you pronounce it. Jeremy will help me next week. And this kid is working on this super powerful gun because the skin on the Kaban is super strong. And the only way to stop them or to take them down, it's not like zombies where you shoot them in the head. No. You shoot them in the heart, but the heart is encased in something so hard, it's harder than steel. So this kid is making this like gigantic bolt gun in order to stop them, and it doesn't work right. But they're able to to shoot them off the train. The kid figures out he still has to work on the gun a bit more, and they get into town. He makes it there. He turns out to be a maintenance person. He goes back to his job, and he figures out finally how to possibly fix the gun. Another train comes in, and the world is afraid of Kaban, so they do like a thorough check on everyone who comes in, because they're losing station by station their stations. And this one guy looks like he has a mark on him, and fear is taking over the people. And this kid, he's like, why are you going to kill this guy? He's not a Kaban. He has nothing on him. It's a scratch. It's a mere scratch. There's no need to, to execute this guy. And in the end, because of all that and him, trying to save pieces of skin from the Kaban to work with his bolt gun to test it out, he ends up getting thrown in jail. And then later on, a train starts speeding towards the station, and I saw this coming a mile away. It turns out this train was, infected, and they crashed into the city. And this was where I felt the most Walking Dead. The zombies come in, or the Kaban come in, and they just start going to town on the entire station. And little by little, more and more people are becoming infected and turning into Kabans themselves. However, the kid finally fixes the gun, and he's able to freaking use it. It works. But then, and this is the part that I found the most interesting in this entire anime, he finds out he's bitten. And apparently he has this machine, and as the infection is spreading throughout his whole body, this machine somehow is able to stop the spreading. And that was weird. And the episode ends on that, and it's like, well, is he infected still? Is the infection still going to continue, or did he cut off circulation in certain parts where now the infection had withdrawn? And wow, this was action-packed first episode, and I'm excited. This series, I don't know how long this series can run, because there's a lot of potential for this to run for a very long time, possibly, because it's a world that's overrun with zombies, basically. Kaban, if you want to call them by what this show is calling them. And humanity is failing, and now this kid made this gun that is able to possibly, allow them to start the fight back against them. And it's going to be interesting to see where this story goes. I'm really, really interested in seeing where all of this is going to go. I love the series. I'm really glad that it came to my attention. Next one, Cerberus, episode 1. It opens up with this wizard, or this magician, not magician, wizard. Let's call him a wizard, because he was more of a wizard or a mage. And his wife and his son trying to banish this demon dragon away from this world. They're kind of like demon hunters, I believe they were called. And unfortunately, the entrapment, something goes wrong, and all hell breaks loose. And then we jump into the present, and the little boy. I want you guys to remember this little boy who actually gets this mark from this encounter, because now we're in the present, and this boy is now a young adult man. I would like to say young adult, but it's years, hundreds of years later. So possibly he's immortal. I don't know, but he's a sword master now, and he comes into town, and he's there. And we get introduced to this little kid, like Robin Hood kind of deal band, where these kids go around stealing expensive stuff in order to sell it, obviously for money or whatever, for their group. And the king, or the mayor or president of the area, I don't know what it is yet, he gets a visit from this guy who has this magical stone that will grant any wish he wants, and in exchange he wants all of the wizard stones, or wizard somethings, I can't remember what they were called. And the guy's like, but if we do that, that means that the demand for they'll be priceless. How will my people feel about that? And he's like, with this, you get whatever wish you want. You could be powerful. And then this kid comes in and tries to steal it, and the wizard, or this guy, wants to use the kid as an example. And basically he tells the guy, you got to have your people fear you. Fear is the greatest power of all. And of course the sword guy, the sword master, comes in, and he's like, I'm sorry to interrupt this, because he was having an on and off again problem with the kids to begin with, but now he sees that their friend is in trouble, and he jumps in. And pardon me if I'm a little cloudy on this, because I actually watched this, I'd like to say around this time last week, so I've already got, episode 2's out, and I'm getting a little foggy on this episode. I want to start on the next one. There's also this little pain in the butt wizard girl who is holding the magical gem that grants a wish. But he basically pleads the case that, yes, he stole, but execution is a bit much, don't you think? And then this little wizard girl opens it up, and he's like, "That's my father's stone," and she's like, "No, this is the," and I cannot remember what it was called, and it was used years ago. He's like, "Yeah, that's my father's magical stone, and I want it back," and she ends up using it against him, and it turns out that his master or his friend shows up to save him, and they get into this big fight, and it ends on a really high note, this episode. And and then the dragon pops back because they started, I guess, overusing the stone, and it freed the demon dragon, and now the kid, who is now a young adult, is faced with the thing that he, that destroyed his family, basically. And I'm excited to see where episode 2 goes. I really like this anime. I like I remember the action very well, and I really am excited to see where this show goes. It definitely has potential to either be an ongoing or a 12 episode, one season and done deal. It depends on where the writers are going with this, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I wish I could remember more of it and not want to, episode 2's been out for a bit now, so I'm kind of more eager to see what happens next. So, next time I've got to make sure I watch my anime close to the recording. That's all I'm going to say. And finally this week, we have 100, episode number 1. And this was a perfect intro episode because the main character, we find out when he was a boy, there was this monster attack, and this girl got scratched or something, and ever since that moment, and this plays into something later on in the episode, ever since that moment, anytime he sees somebody hurt, he wants to help them. But we learn, it fast forwards. It turns out it was a nightmare. Even though it was the past, it was a nightmare for him, and he's arriving in the garden, I believe, or the small garden or garden, something. And it's an academy, and he is a well-known person. Apparently, his skills are so amazing that he is a very well-known character. We don't know why as viewers. All we know is apparently he's popular and he's got a lot of skills to himself, and that's why he's there. And orientation happens, and he gets introduced to this young, it looks like a girl, it talks like a girl, but they call her a him. I don't understand. Maybe I missed something in the translation, or maybe she's faking that she's a girl, that she's a boy. I don't know. But her and the main character her and the character become almost inseparable right away. And we get inside to the auditorium where they're having the orientation, and these two girls come in late. And the president actually says, "You guys, this is important. You're here late. You're done. Take your stuff and go home." And it turns out that the reason they were late was because they were at the airport looking for the main character because they wanted to welcome him to the island. And his friend, the girl, who's a boy, stood up and said that's not right, that she's kicking them out. It's their first day. Give them a little break. And then she ends up getting expelled. And that's when the main character stands up and he's like, this is a bit harsh, don't you think? And she's like, what's your choice? To the main character. He's like, I would like them to stay. I think that this could be looked over. And she's like, fine. Fight me in a duel. You win, they stay. I win, they go. And obviously, you can see that the president is using this as an excuse just to get to fight the main character. And then we get introduced to the hundreds, which are these little... This is what reminds me a lot of Divine Gate. It's this little... I guess we could call it like a morphing device. Think about Divine Gate, because that's what I kind of compare it to, where they had those devices that connected with them and created weapons. Same thing, except in hundreds, it can create multiple different weapons depending on the situation. And he gets his 100, and then his new friend that he made literally that same day, starts to train him because he has to be ready to fight the president. And it turns out all this training and all this stuff, he forgot that his sister was in the hospital there. His sister is very ill, and one of the conditions he had for going to the school was that his sister get the top medical care at the facility. And he goes there. We get introduced to the sister a bit. And it's nice. I like the character development. I like that he's like that bigger brother. Kind of, we get more in depth with this character. And he's explaining to her what's going on. And he goes back to his room and finds out that she is his best friend who we can't determine their gender for some. I'm going to stop this now. But that person's his roommate. And I forget, there was a lot of conversation. He explains, because there's a cut that happens, and he explains how if he sees somebody hurt because of what happened to him when he was a kid, he feels compelled to make sure that that person's taken care of until they're okay. And I swear, if this is a girl, though, this person's falling for him head over heels. And I like it, because if this is a girl, I would definitely like to see this as a relationship at some point, because you can see the bond. And the episode ends, actually, with him and the president in the arena preparing to face off. I love this. I really have high hopes for this series, and I like how to activate the device they got to go 100 on. It reminds me of so much of a composite. Mostly it reminds me a lot of Divine Gate. It's like I'm really glad that I this almost went under our radar as well. I literally bumped into this title and noticed it was on episode 1, so I tried it, and I am so glad I did. I really like this series, and I'm really excited to see not the school part, but when they actually go off into the field fighting these gigantic demon monsters. So I'm liking 100. Episode 1 is really good. So that's it for all the anime this week, guys. We had some really excellent, amazing number ones. We had Kabaneri of Iron Fortress. We had Sensei Cerberus. I'm just calling it Cerberus. Why did I say Cerberus? It's Cerberus. We had 100. Ace Attorney made its debut, even though it's a week late because we missed it. Boku no Hero Academia is amazing. There's really no anime this week that I have anything bad to say about. Everything was great, and it's not too often where there's no complaints for any of the animes, and that's the week that you're really the happiest, and that's what I am. This week was an excellent week in anime, and I'm looking forward to all of these shows again next week. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this week's episode of Anime Weekly. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys too much. Jeremy will be back here next week, or else I will Assassination Classroom that boy. But it's my fault too, because I was sick at the beginning of the week. So hopefully our schedules will mesh next week, and we'll give you guys the classic Anime Weekly show that we always give you. But yes, feel free to comment below your thoughts on any of the shows I talked about here. Until next time, everybody, enjoy your anime, keep reading, keep collecting. Don't forget to check out more stuff right here on comicfrontline.com, your number one source for comic-related news, reviews, and a whole bunch more. If you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, hopefully you will subscribe, because we have content going up daily, and you definitely do not want to miss out on a single video. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you guys next week for another Anime Weekly.